morning, everyone. 皆さんおはようございます。今、こちらはおはようございますなんですけれども、今日はケリーをお招きして、そしてケリーとマネー&ユー、ケリーとビジネスとマネー&ユー、そしてケリーとビジネスと、それからマネー&ユーと、それからコーチですね。どういう思いでマネー&ユーインストラクションしているのかどうかというところをいろいろしたいと思います。それじゃあ、私が英語で聞いて、そして日本語に訳していきますね。よろしくお願いします。Okay, Kerry. Here's the question. How are you today?
I'm doing so well, Tamami. Thank you so much.
Yeah?
It's good to see you and good to be with you from San Diego.
Oh, yes. ケリーはサンディエゴ在住ね。ドリアもに住んでいらっしゃいますが。Okay, so we'll see you in July, this July, very soon. Next month.
Yes, I'm excited to be there to lead both Money&You and also the Powerful Presentations and Leadership Program.
Yes.
It's always good to come be with my Japanese family, my Money&You family.
そうですね。今回7月、来月にもね、来日されて、そしてマネー&ユーと、それからそのすぐ後にね、行われる PPLP、パワフルプレゼンテーション&リーダーシッププログラムの講師としてね、来日されるんですけれども、ちょっとね、もう、So how long have you been teaching Money&You?
Wow, well, I've been leading Money&You since 1994. I did my Money&You back in 1991. And when I was a participant in Money&You, there was something about the way the programs are taught that really, really touched me.
Oh. And you decided to become an instructor right away?
No. What I did was I did a lot of our other programs, including the Powerful Presentations program that I now lead, our Creating Wealth program. And it was really at the Business School for Entrepreneurs, which we lead annually, that I had a breakthrough in who I am in the world. And really decided, well, I didn't actually decide to be a Money&You instructor. I was asked to be a Money&You instructor. No woman had ever done it before. And there was a couple of things that occurred during that business school, which I won't go into detail about. And I think what it showed me was a new relationship with business and power and my leadership. And I was invited to join the instructor training program.
Yes. So you are asked by somebody to become an instructor, and how did you feel at that time?
Well, I was specifically asked by Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, I felt excited, nervous, and scared, but there was also something about wanting to show the world that a woman could lead this work as powerfully as some of the most of the gurus in the transformational movement are men. And so I really appreciated that he saw something in me. And so I immediately said yes. I had no idea what I was saying yes to. And I said, of course. And then immediately after, just like most human beings, when you make a big declaration, I think I felt very sick afterwards.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I remember grabbing a friend of mine and saying, I think I just said yes to being an instructor of this work.
Okay.
And it was interesting, their response, because their response was, of course you did. And of course they would ask you. So it shows me, and it's something that I'm about, that we can see things in people that we often don't recognize in ourselves.
I see. Okay. And Robert Kiyosaki, how was he when you met him? And you of course, you were there as a participant when Robert Kiyosaki was instructing. And how did you feel? What kind of instructor was he?
Robert was, at the time when he was instructing Money&You, he was very powerful, but also very heartfelt. He genuinely cared about people. didn't mess around. Like if he saw something for you, he would give it to you. Sometimes he was very strong, and for some people he was too strong. But I think for me, I resonated with that. I really liked his style because I needed somebody to just tell me, you know, how it was at the time and to really stand for me. So I had a great relationship with Robert while he was leading Money&You and while he was still in this work.
I see. So you have a business too, right? And which principle have you applied to your business? Which principle of Money&You have you applied to your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah. I like to practice all of the principles. One of the philosophies of my life is to walk our talk and, you know, be integrating and learning all of the time in the work. I think the first principle that I ever integrated was leverage. And leverage is a principle that I continue to work with. Without leverage, I wouldn't be able to come to Japan for 2 weeks in July. And, you know, when I was first a Money&You participant, I was in the nonprofit world. I was actually working with the American Cancer Society, and I was in charge of large fundraising events. And it was exhausting, quite frankly. I had to be there. And I love what we say in Money&You, which is if you don't understand leverage, you work too hard. So I think that was the first one because I didn't want to work so hard. I didn't want to be so tired all the time. I loved my work, but I didn't like the effects of my work, if that makes sense. So leverage is still one that I absolutely understand and put into place. My company, Accomplishment Coaching, we have 10 in-person coach training programs. They're year-long coach training programs, which there's different formats, but basically over the course of the year, it's 24 in-person days. And I run teams for every single one of those coach training programs. And that could not occur if I didn't understand leverage and systems and being able to put things into place so that I don't have to always be there for the company to run smoothly.
Right. And did it work well? How, applying the leverage into your business, did it work well for the first time?
Well, it worked the first time. The first time I ever did it, way back when, I applied it to one of my specific fundraising events.
Right.
And at the time, we were using a lot of, without going into the details of the event, because that would take too much time, we were using a lot of volunteers. It took a lot of hours to raise the amount of money that we were raising.
Right.
And by applying leverage, I used less people and raised more money than had ever been raised before. I actually quadrupled the amount of money raised in the first year just by really thinking, how can I leverage this? How can I leverage this? And I'm happy to go into the details. Like I just don't want to take too much time in it, but basically to know that by looking at how can I do more with less, there has to be a way for this fundraiser to go smoother and not need so many people to basically be involved with it. We actually created so much volume, so much success in that event that they replicated what I did throughout California. This was in San Diego, and they took that throughout California.
Okay. So what clear distinction are there between Money&You grad CEO like you and other CEOs? Can you tell me?
I love your questions, Tamami.
Thank you.
I think that most CEOs run their businesses according to academic principles, very thought-based intellectual principles that have been taught over and over through business schools in all of the countries.
Yeah.
And I think that those are basically linear. They're based on strategies. They're based mostly on short-term gains, quarterly increments. and not necessarily long-term vision. Even though people talk about being visionaries, they need to just make their next quarterly returns.
Right.
And I think that there's little room for deviation. Like, people have a path and they're supposed to stay that path.
Yes.
Money&You CEOs, they take the principles, and these are tried and true business principles that work and have created, multiple billionaires and success, whatever anybody's definition of success is. But I also think because they're universal and speak to what works versus how it's supposed to work, I think that, and not doing something the right way, but doing something in the way that works for that company, it leaves room to bring more creative spark. It leaves room for people to really be involved in the process and create it along the way. And I think what happens is that the CEOs that do that, they create an environment where there's more room for authenticity. There's more room for freedom. There's more room for a place where people who work with them are able to be themselves, be more self-expressed, and display their unique talents.
Right.
So I think it's about creating cooperation and win-win environments. Most CEOs, if they're not trained in the Money&You principles, they do not focus on win-win. They don't focus on, it's basically what's the goal and how are we going to get to the goal.
Right.
And so I think that the ones that are trained by us, they're also not threatened by their employees' brilliance. They encourage employee brilliance. They reward employee brilliance. It really becomes a team as opposed to a team in name only. Those are some of the highlights that I would say are the major differences.
That's a lot. Okay. So, with your team, what kind of leadership do you take?
With my current teams?
Yes, with your current team.
Like, what kind of leader am I? Is that the question?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I think that I'm the kind of leader that you can bring anything to. I'm the kind of leader that would rather somebody tell me what is really going on than try and do something behind my back. I'm upfront. I create, I really put the Money&You rules of the game into practice with my teams. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I am a humble and approachable leader. So when I'm with my teams, all of my teams would reflect that they feel very safe with me and they could come to me for anything.
Oh, okay.
I think I do a good balance of listening and training, and I'm also not afraid to draw the line when it needs to be drawn. So what I mean by that is that I want to encourage the people on my teams, especially the people that I'm raising as leaders, to see, bring what they see and to be able to, I don't want to tell people how things are supposed to be done. I want people to bring to me their ideas and what they see needs to be done. And then we can talk about if that will work or not and what I see. So I'm not afraid to say that's a great idea and we're not going to do it. But at the same time, I want everyone to be thinking and generating and growing the business at the same time. I don't relate to leadership as top down. As I've often said, and I don't know if this will translate, but I often tell my teams, even though there's a hierarchy, it's not hierarchical. In other words, we're more of a flat organization. So I'm also in there. I'm not afraid. Like, I will pull up my sleeves if work needs to be done. I have no problem. I get in there. So I think I'm a very approachable leader. I'm a strong leader. And at the same time, I create an environment where I am able to grow leaders because they can identify with me as opposed to, oh, I can't, be that person or do that thing.
You said you're very approachable and safe to be with and all that, right? But in Money&You, you are so sharp to be in that, when the participant is not telling the truth or something hiding or something try not to deal, you just be right in to that spot and make them open up or something. So I'm sure your staff are used to it, and so are they mature or are they like all grown up, or how do they handle that?
Oh, it's a great question. It's a process, just like in Money&You, that we start slowly and we build and we create a safe space.
Yeah.
And, we're able to actually create that where people know, or at least I can remind them that this is what they signed up for. It's the same thing with my teams. I just had somebody today tell me, he said, everything you reflect to me is completely accurate, but sometimes I'm just not ready for it.
Oh.
So people are human, but I'm always willing to, I truly believe that anything can happen if you're actually in relationship with the other person. So in other words, in my teams, we really work on trust, the Money&You principles from the blocks game, trust and courage and integrity is so important. So that plus the rules of the game, so that we create an environment where if I call somebody on their stuff, they actually know it's because I'm on their side. And just like anybody, sometimes we remember that and sometimes we don't. So it's my job as a leader, I think, to be able to gauge what somebody can hear at a given time and be able to deliver the communication, which is a lot of what Powerful Presentations and Leadership Program is about. How do I get my intention over there with the other person? How do I actually communicate so that other person can really get what it is that I'm offering? And I think that is so important. And I'm so grateful that through this work, I've been able to really become a master of that. Because you're right, I am sharp and I do give it to people. But I've had people acknowledge me for that. They're like, one of the best compliments I ever got, and you can translate this as appropriate for the Japanese metaphor, but somebody said, I love you. You're like nurture with a baseball bat.
Oh. Okay.
And I pride myself. I think that's the kind of leader I am. I'm very loving, but I'm going to call it when I see it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about PPLP. And in your case, what awareness have you had after, like in your case, ITP?
So is the question, what did I get when I participated?
Yes.
For me, I had, because of the business that I was in, I was used to standing in front of people and talking. But like many people, I would get nervous. Like many people, I would prepare and then I would forget what it is that I was supposed to say. When I did my powerful presentations, I actually did not think I was going to get much from the content because I already did speak to so many people. But it was actually the opposite. By that time I had done several of our programs and I just really liked the way they were taught and what I got out of them. So I knew I would get something. But what I got from my presentations was I really got authenticity. I really got the way, like, that I get to be me, and that, yes, you have to have an idea of what you're saying, but it's more important to be clear on your intention and what you want to convey. It's really more important, like people respond more to authenticity and when you're congruent and when you bring forth something. And I really got the word enrollment, like how to create it so that I'm not just delivering information. You know, if we want just information or data, we'll go to Google. We'll go read a book. There's so much information and data out there.
Yeah.
People want to be able to take that information, take that data, and be able to immediately apply it in their life. They want to see how that works for them. They want to be able to be inspired and enrolled and motivated and do things differently in their life. That's why we, you know, even in a business meeting, my job is to be able to convey the information so that my team will actually be able to go and create the program or make the change or do whatever it is that I want them to do. And I didn't really get that till I started on this journey, which started with me actually doing powerful presentations and creating that difference where I could be authentic and actually speak to people in a way that had them get it and be able to implement it in their lives.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. And I would like to know who should come to PPLP. What would you say?
That's a great question too. I would say anyone who wants to increase their ability to truly communicate with people in their lives, in their work, in their teams, all over their lives. I would say anyone who wants to reinvent their relationship to leadership and truly own their own leadership.
Yeah.
I would also say do not sign up if you just want a program that's going to give you sample outlines or agendas. You can get that on Google. You can get that online. I would say don't come to a program that's going to give you the answers, because what we're going to give you is we're going to give you the principles and the practice and the experience to create your own answers. I would say don't come if you want me as the leader to do the work for you. And I would say do sign up and attend if you're really ready to create a big difference in who you are and how you show up in the world. And do attend if you want to really get to work to bring more of you and your leadership to the world. And if you want to have an interactive, inspiring, and fun experience that changes your life.
Okay. Okay, so this is, thank you very much. This is your the last question of the session. Tell me your mission.
My life's mission has really always been about cooperation and inspiration ever since I was a little girl. And since I've been doing this work, I've really adopted and integrated the vision that Bucky had, which is that the world can work for 100% of humanity, 100% of the time. And I've taken it on. My mission right now is to find evidence for cooperation, global cooperation in the world. You know, human beings, when I talk to them, they'll say things like, the world will never all get along. You know, we'll never have world peace. There are people that don't find that to be a possibility. And what I know is that we gather evidence for whatever we believe. So it's been my personal mission recently to gather as much evidence as I can for global cooperation. And I have quite a few examples, and I'm collecting more. But I do believe that the world can get along. We have lots of examples of that, like time. We all agree on time. You know, it's made up. We drew a line through England and decided, you know, what time was going to be. And there's never been a war fought over time. So, or red lights and green lights. That's all around the world. We all agree on that. So really, I think my mission is global cooperation. Because if we're going to make it on the planet, that's what we need. And we need more of.
Yes. So last question. And so we're gonna have a very first PPLP in Japan, and what should we prepare or what should we expect for that?
Can you be more specific? Is this a question for the participants?
Yes, as a participant, what should we prepare or expect?
Nice. So as a participant in the very first PPLP for Japan,
they're very excited and scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot to prepare. I think the best thing that people could do would be to think about what area in their life do they want the biggest breakthrough in communication and in conveying who they are.
Okay.
Because there's going to be a lot of exercises and a lot of opportunities to work and get feedback on how people show up. And if people are prepared and have thought about, do I want to work on something for my business, or do I want to work on a personal communication or a personal project or something that I am just passionate about, or a new book. And I think sometimes when people first get into the room, they're not sure like what they want to carry through in the 3 days. So that would be something for people to come prepared with, and it's fine if people don't know.
Okay.
I also say come prepared to have fun, but also to really give it 100%.
Oh, all right.
And so prepare your life. Like, try not to have any distractions during those 3 days. This is not the type of program that you want to run out of the room and have to take a business phone call or something like that. Clear your, desks, clear your calendar, be fully present for the totality of the program so that you can get the most out of it. I think oftentimes when people say, well, that wasn't as powerful, it's because they're out of the room and they get distracted.
Right.
Yeah.
And
and I would say be prepared to interact with other participants. For some people, I think that the way we lead programs sometimes can be confronting, because we don't just do, auditorium seating where you're looking at somebody's back and you don't have to talk to somebody. This is very interactive. So be prepared to engage and interact with other people.
Right. いいですね。1時間の間ありがとうございました。Thank you very much, Carrie. And there will be really wonderful, advice and the knowledge and experience you shared. And we are looking forward to seeing you in July, in less than a month. And see you then, huh?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I will see you then, and we will take people through Money&You and Powerful Presentations and Leadership Program and create some transformation and breakthroughs and have fun in the process, all the while teaching successful business principles.
Yes, そうですね。本当にいろんな原理原則をお伝えしながら、そしてそのプロセスも楽しんでもらいながら、すべてのビジネスの原則をね、皆さんにお伝えできればと思ってます。ということなので、これでね、ケリーとの電話セッション終わらせていただきます。長い間、ご清聴ありがとうございました。Thank you very much. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks to Mommy. Bye.